This TJ Legacy, host of the Soapbox Podcast. The live stream will start shortly, but make sure you like our Facebook page, follow us on Instagram, and tell all of your friends and family that the most infamous podcast on all your streaming services is about to go live.
TJ, what's goody? It's HB. Can I just big you up real quick with what you're doing with the Soapbox? Listen, anytime somebody takes their platform to educate and inform the culture of hip-hop with politics, pop culture, doing what you're doing and being responsible with your platform, I can't do nothing but salute you, TJ. Keep doing what it do. Keep repping for the culture. Nothing but love and respect from me, baby. Peace.
Gentlemen, what's really good? It's Peter Rosenberg, Hot 97, ESPN, WWE, Cheap Heat Podcast, all that. Big shout out to my peoples over at the Soapbox, all right? My man TJ, Legacy Cole, the whole Soapbox crew. Incredible new podcast, all right? Politics, pop culture, hip hop, even wrestling on occasion. It's all there. So go subscribe and make sure you tune in to the Soapbox. TJ, what up, man? Appreciate you.
Peace to the planet. Charlemagne the God here. What's happening, TJ Legacy Cole? Salute to you, King. Salute to the Soapbox Podcast. The Soapbox Podcast is an independent black media podcast, and they talk hip-hop, politics, pop culture, mental health, social justice, a lot of my favorite subjects. Check them out, man. Tune in, subscribe to them. You never know. I'm out here looking at all the different podcasts that are moving and shaking out here, because, I got the Black Effect Podcast Network, so I'm going to be checking y'all out, TJ. All right? Keep working.
And work we shall. Charlemagne the God, what's going on? Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Soapbox Podcast. I'm your host, TJ Legacy, and I am joined with the best co-host any host could ask for. Let's start from the beginning. Lady from the North, what's going on? Jesse, what's up? What's popping? Oh, you're muted. You're muted. It's okay. We're rusty. We're now coming back. We're good.
We're not rusty. My laptop is not working, so I have to use my phone. Okay, so I got to get a little adjusted. You know what I'm saying?
Your laptop rusty.
My laptop is actually acting real rusty. And that's like whack, because MacBooks, they not cheap. So for it to be acting up, that's kind of like a ripoff, actually. But besides that, I'm doing good. I'm feeling good. I'm happy to be here.
You're going to have to call the IT people, but we're good. Sending positive vibes, positive energy. It looked great. The skin is glowing. Yeah, the baby hairs is out. I'm trying to get my baby hairs as well. Y'all know I'm on the Mohican journey. Shout out to, and then we got my man up north, man, 50 grand. What's going on? Homeless millionaire Alan York was good.
What's the word? I'm glad to be here with the squad. I'm actually fresh off of the surgery chair, which a lot of people don't know. So yeah, man. I had to get some emergency dentist work yesterday. Okay, technically it may not be surgery. It's a couple dental fillings, but
what? I was like, yo, ladies and gentlemen, me and Alan are friends, and I don't know these things. Like I literally ask him all the time, like, yo, what's going on? What's going on in your world? He's like, nah, chilling.
Okay, so fine. I may have gassed it. Maybe fillings aren't actually surgery, but that happened yesterday. So that's why I have a little bit of a toothache, but it's cool. It's way better than it was 48 hours ago. But I say all of that to say that I just wanted to shout out the person who was the test dummy for anesthesia, because it saved a lot of our lives in a lot of instances, and you don't get enough credit. So shout out to the anesthesia crash dummies back in the day. TJ, how you feeling, man?
Yo, man, feeling good, feeling great. I kind of messed up my shoulder a little bit, but we're making it do what it do. And today we are, talking about the X Factor, man. And the X Factor can have a multitude of different names and different meanings. It could be your X Factor, meaning your ex that you used to be with, or the X Factor of things that's like a game changer, things that are going to change the game. So we're going to talk about both. But first, there was something that you sent me, Alan, this week about talking about Nicki Minaj, and I'm definitely interested to get Jesse's take on it. We got some clips for y'all, so we're going to go ahead and let you set that play up, and then we'll get it going.
Yeah. TJ, we're gonna go ahead and cue up the clip, but just for kind of an overall summary, the woman who accused Nicki Minaj's husband of rape details how the couple, in her eyes, harassed her. So essentially, long story short, a lot of people do know that Nicki Minaj's current husband was previously in jail. Technically, he was arrested and jailed for attempted rape a very long time ago. I do believe that they were in their teens. I know the victim was in her teens. Essentially, she ended up having to move from Queens right after that incident. So, when he came home and he started dating Nicki Minaj, the fans, technically, the Barbs, from what I understand, kind of looked her up. She was being anonymous, but they kind of looked her up. Essentially, from my understanding, what she's accusing Nicki Minaj's team of is trying to get her to possibly recant some statements in regards to what his involvement was in the crime back in the day. She is suing them for threats and intimidation, and this is actually the first time she's came out publicly and spoken with a public
with an attorney
publication, and she did come out and speak with her attorney. And this is also, for a lot of people, the first time that they are seeing her face. So I'm gonna go ahead and kick it to TJ, and just so you can kind of hear what she is stating and why she's taking this route as of right now.
All right, word.
For the first time on camera regarding the lawsuit she filed against Nicki Minaj and her husband, Kenneth Petty. A lawsuit accusing them of harassment and intimidation, among other charges. We believe that all women's voices have the right to be heard, which is why we invited her to come here today. Please welcome Jennifer Hough and her lawyer, Tyrone Blackburn. Welcome, guys.
Yeah, welcome to the show, Jennifer and Tyrone. Jennifer, I know this is not an easy thing for you to do, so we're going to take our time. After being silent for so long, why are you here speaking up today?
I'm tired of being afraid. I feel like the actions that were taken in regards to this whole situation have put me in a different type of fear at my age now, and it was wrong, and I don't want to be afraid anymore. So the only way not to be afraid is to continue to speak up.
Now, Jennifer, I'm going to read because I don't want to make a mistake, because this is an important story. Though Kenneth Petty first denied the rape charges, he was charged with first-degree rape, subsequently pleaded guilty to attempted rape, and spent over 4 years in prison, according to the inmate records. Did you feel that justice was served?
I don't think I thought about justice per se, because I was still blaming myself. I thought it was something that I did or didn't do. So I don't think I thought about if I got justice. I just knew he did what he did, and he went to jail, and I had to leave my family, I had to leave my home, and I had to move away. So, yeah, I never really gave it much thought.
How has this affected you emotionally over the years?
In so many ways. Hiding within myself.
All right, so that was Kenneth Petty's accuser, Nicki Minaj's husband. I don't know. I want to get your. I don't know. My initial thoughts when you sent that to me was like, it's good that women they're using your voice, but I think if her motive was to not be harassed, I just don't get the interview part of it. I get the litigation part of it, but I don't get the interview part of wanting to go public because of social media and people. You're bringing more eyes to yourself, which is going to bring more eyes to people who are, in this instance, may have critical thoughts about you. So I don't know. What did you think, Jess, when you saw that?
So he went to jail for this?
Correct. They said for 4 years. He was convicted and went to jail for 4 years.
So when you say, like, what do I think about this? Do you mean the situation or her going on the show?
I think about it's more of her going on the show because I'm confused and I think they had an appropriate question was like, do you feel like justice was served? Because this isn't about holding him accountable as if he got off, like he was actually convicted and tried. So my question is, as a woman, you want women to speak up and empower and use their voices, but it's like I don't know what the end game is. And if the end game was I want the harassment to stop, I don't understand let me go on The Real, not CNN or some of these other affiliates or platforms. Let me go on a Real, and The Real is basically a gossip channel. Like it's a gossip show.
Yeah, but it's like it's all women. It's all women. It's like a
correct. And so
show,
I don't see the strategic plan that maybe her or her attorney is putting forth.
I don't know if there is a plan because he already went to jail for the crime that he committed. Maybe it was just more so of her wanting to get her story out there because he is dating Nicki Minaj, who is obviously a superstar and everybody knows who Nicki Minaj is. And here she is dating someone who was accused of doing this awful thing to her. And maybe she just feels like her story she hasn't been able to really tell her story or really just speak about what's happened, and maybe she just hasn't fully healed from it, and maybe this is just her way of like wanting to talk about it just to make her feel better so more people are aware about what happened to her. And then again, like we don't know what people are saying about the situation on social media, and if she's sitting there and like reading comments and reading stories and reading different things, like I can't really speak to like where her mindset is because I'm not her and I'm not in her shoes and I don't know why she did what she did. But I can only just maybe assume that it's probably her wanting to just get her story out and people just hearing it from her perspective and seeing her hurt.
Would you, as like, for instance, if you were Nicki Minaj's friend or you knew someone in a situation where they were accused of something or convicted. Actually, let's not even use the word accused. Like he was convicted of a crime of rape, correct? Is that what it was, Alan?
Correct. He was convicted of, attempted rape, technically.
Okay, so if he was convicted, like, do you think that matters? Like if someone like is trying to, whether they're trying to move on with their life, I think that Nicki Minaj has a right to know, but do you think that someone like that has to wear like the scarlet letter, where it's like any other relationship from here on out, their accuser has a right to tell, women, hey, this is what happened to me. Because I don't think it's like a look out, Nicki, I think you're in danger. It's more of a, so I'm really confused.
Yeah. She's just saying like, this is what happened to me. This is my voice. I'm letting you know what happened to me. It's real. It happened. And I think she just wants her voice to be heard. At the end of the day, I think Nicki knows that this happened. He went to jail for it. I don't think it's a secret. I think it's just her wanting to speak on it, like with her voice and people hearing it. That's all I think.
Would you advise your homegirl if you knew your homegirl was dating someone with a past like that? Would you? And Nicki Minaj was your homegirl, would you tell her like, hey, this might not be the right one, or would you let her, as your homegirl, make her own decision?
I mean, I would like just tell her to, I guess, be careful. But at the end of the day, if you're dating somebody and you know their past, then you know their past. It's not a secret. If the person you're dating, it's one thing, and two, like if you watch Lifetime movies, it's one thing if you go out, you're dating someone who's done these things and they hide it. And then you later find out because now she's coming out and saying something. But then it's another thing if you went to jail for it and you admitted to it and you tell your partner the truth of what you did, whatever, and they decide to stay with you. So if she knows that he did these things, but she still decides to stay with him and she has that connection to him, whatever it is, then I'm gonna support my partner, my girl, because that's what you want. You know, that's what makes you happy. This guy makes you happy despite his past. And I wouldn't say that people don't change, because I definitely feel like people can change and people learn from their mistakes, and people do really stupid things, and you know, so I trust me, personal, like I know.
Yeah.
But I was getting somewhere with that and I lost my train of thought.
Very good. I know that you were saying that people, you're saying that people make mistakes, people change. That I think that's a powerful statement, because when we talk about the X Factor, I think everybody is somebody's villain in somebody else's story. I'm a firm believer. I'm a firm, like there's nothing, like I'm sure, like Alan, do all your exes have glowing reviews about you?
Like exit? Who has exes?
Like I was like, yo, I gotta be in a relationship. Okay, I gotta be in a relationship first. Before I get an ex, I gotta be in a relationship first.
Right. I mean, I do have. I only have like I have 2.5 exes. I actually think that they all do have like somewhat of a decent. But I'm the outlier here. I'm probably not the best person to ask this question.
2.5. How is it?
Yeah.
Hold on. I know it's a serious topic, but how do you get a 2.5 review from an ex? It would be just 3.
No. I mean, you know, it's kind of puppy love-ish. So it's like I gotta count it because of the significance, but it wasn't really like long. It was like 3 months or something.
I've never. If you talk about men with commitment issues, the minute we talk about any sort of relationship, whatever, this dude's be mumbling and skirming and
very specific though. I've thought about these things. So yeah, I'm going with 2.5.
Who got exes? Like, well, everybody, if you're an adult, should have an ex by the time you're in your 30s. You should have some sort of an
taboo.
Yeah,
kind of, because like sometimes you could be with someone, it's just a situation, and then like, you know, it feels like it's a relationship, but it's not a relationship, so you can't really count them as an ex.
Right. Shout out to my exes.
Y'all speak that language, because we either together or we not. What are we doing? What are we doing? We're committed to each other. I mean, it got to be titles, but yeah. But I think most people have. You're, like I said, you're the villain in somebody else's story, but that's their story, you know, and she has a right to tell her story, but that's still her story. And that doesn't necessarily mean that her story is the totality of who you are, because her entire story of you being a villain could technically be a chapter in your book. Right. And so, but when it comes to her being on the platform, and I get if she doesn't want to be harassed. I just think with the days with social media and putting more eyes onto it, I don't understand if this is a way to alleviate that. I would just think that it would increase. But we do have another clip where she adds some more context, and I want to make sure that we get to that.
For sure.
Within myself, living and surviving through insecurities, using them to protect myself, thinking that if I don't look a certain way, I won't attract a certain type of attention. And I've been like that my whole life.
Jennifer, let's move forward. When it was announced that Kenneth Petty was marrying Nicki Minaj, what was your first thought about that news?
I was so afraid of being found out. I was so afraid of being known as the person he violated, and I didn't want that. You know, it's Nicki Minaj.
Jennifer, have you ever spoken to Nicki directly?
I did, in March of 2020. She called me, and she said that she got word that I was willing to help them out in a situation. I didn't understand what she was referring to. She offered to fly me and my family to LA. I turned it down, and I told her, woman to woman, this really happened. And I hadn't spoken to her since.
Now, you allege that Nicki and Kenneth were harassing you. In what way?
With them sending people to negotiate numbers as far as money is concerned with family members. And Nikki is the one who personally reached out to me. She's, in regards to helping them in this situation. And then the threats that I received because I kept saying no to every offer, to every suggestion. The last incident was when one of their associates put $20,000 on my lap, and I still kept saying no. The last message I received was that I should have taken the money because they're going to use that money to put on my head.
What are you guys wanting to come from this lawsuit?
To let them know that they were wrong, and you can't do this to people. You shouldn't do this to
All right, so real quick, when she said when they asked the question, what do you think about Nicki Minaj marrying Kenneth Petty marrying Nicki Minaj? And her response was, I cared about being found out and being labeled as just his victim or accuser. That was the statement that made me believe her. Because if this was on some like petty, vindictive shit, her response would have been something along the lines of, I don't think he's going to be good for her. She could have had a different man. She didn't give a damn about whether or not Nicki Minaj was with this dude or not. She cared about her truth being weaponized against her. And I think that for me was the most telling part of the interview when I saw that clip, was like, wait a minute. She's holding on to it. And in the beginning, when they were kind of approaching her about, allegedly approaching her about whether it was settlement, whether it's hush money, whatever, she was adamantly against it because she was so like, you're not ever going to want to help somebody like that. You see what I'm saying? If that's your truth, you're not going to ever want to know. There's no really amount of money or things that can make you feel like, like that, what happened to you didn't happen. Yeah. So when she said that, I was like, oh, okay. That showed me. But those type of things happen, and put in my political hat, these type of arrangements happen more often than not, of people recanting their stories, brown paper bag, I'm gonna holla at you, go away, we ain't gonna press the charges and stuff like that. So her speaking out about the type of tactics that are being used is pretty much, I believe, in Hollywood and in politics, common practice.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, and and just doing also
doesn't make it right though, but it's common practice. Yeah.
Of course. And just doing a little bit of reading. I mean, I think that it's a couple of things that kind of accumulated towards this. And, one thing that I was reading on is essentially she was looking out for her daughter as well, because, even though she never been in the spotlight per se, from what we know, at least on a scale like this, she was found out. She was found out and traced by the internet, by the fans. They have been harassing her. She spoke previously before saying that like someone had spoke with her daughter about it. And so these things have actually led her to have to move several times because she was in fear for her safety. From both just, having her information floated out on the internet. And then, of course, I can imagine what she was speaking in regards to about the internal communications that she may have had with Nicki's team. So I think this also could be, just thinking about that, this also could be like just kind of like a SOS signal, like, hey, listen, man, if something happens to me, then I want you to know
it's better to hide in plain sight.
Right. If something happens to me, I just want to let you guys know what's been going on, what I've been going through. And so I think that is probably also one of the motivations for her coming out as well. Now, and then it's just, it'll be extremely, it'll be extremely interesting to see what on the other side, what they're going to do moving forward. in regards to this, because obviously, I would assume that Nicki would have her lawyers get involved in regards to a possible defamation of character. I'm not necessarily sure how that will work legally. But also what I did, which was really creepy, she mentioned about how she was offered to be flown out to LA, and she denied that. But the fact that there was some sort of in-person confrontation, which I don't think she really went too deep on, but the fact that someone was close enough to drop this money in her lap physically, I would love to kind of know like how that arrangement came about. Like, why did they meet? Like, what exactly was going on to where
somebody had to prompt you in order. You had to be prompted to actually meet with someone.
Right.
Yeah. So, but right now the alleviation is not, "Hey, Nicki, please stop harassing me. This is why I'm doing this interview." The alleviation is, I'm suing you now and I'm assuming it's for a monetary value in order for you to stop harassing me. So, I think if the motivation from the Nicki Minaj camp was to get her to recant her story so that she couldn't use her voice, and then we're going to pay you $20,000. Well, they definitely not going to want to pay you now that you went and did an interview, and
but she can't recant her story if there was charges already. If she was already charged, how could she recant her story?
I think it's probably one of those things where it's just like, hey, if news affiliates, and I'm just assuming based on putting my political hat on, it's one of those things where it's like you can't give a story legs, right? So the media can only report on something if it has legs, right? So if they reach out to, they could say Nicki Minaj is dating this guy who's been accused of this crime and these things happen, but if she doesn't speak to these reporters to give them legs, then there's really no story. It's just reporting what's already public record, and then eventually the story will die because people will say, well, there's no new information. There's no, the victim doesn't have a voice, so that people wouldn't empathize with her, and then look and that would in turn damage the Nicki Minaj brand. But in a business sense, and if I'm speaking as an agent or somebody like that, you would have these things handled before you went public with your relationship. If you're a celebrity, like you would have your ducks in a row to be like, hey, this could potentially come out. If this does come out, what are we going to, how are we going to handle it? And so she's now in fear of them assassinating her character. But at this point in time, there are people, and that's why I don't like the Barbs and the Beehive and stuff like that. And then there's other people who are stands for, whether it's politicians or the Trump supporters, whatever. Like, when you are so in love with an entity or a person where it doesn't matter what they do, you gonna rock with them regardless. That's scary, yo. That's scary because they, and it's like you on the internet. Imagine being a grown person on the internet and just all you do every day is just, if anybody got something to say about Nicki Minaj, I'm coming for them. Or anybody got something to say about Beyonce, I got them. Like, there are people that do that. Like, that's got
a lot of young people too.
Nah, mostly old ass people too.
It's mixed.
Yeah, but majority, I think they were young. They're young.
Yeah, but what I will say is that, like, I do feel, and previously when I was reading on this as well, and had I mentioned, I do think that the litigation part of it is, of course we get it, but I think a lot of it is because she feels that she's not necessarily even able to make a living for herself because she was just in fear, even before coming public. She was just in fear of having harm done to her. So she wasn't comfortable working publicly, and she's been moving around. So of course, just like strictly from a numbers aspect, $20,000 is only going to do so much if you don't feel like you can go to work every single day. And that's not necessarily even a year's salary. That may not be a year's salary for her, and she has children. So it's like, at least from a numbers aspect, I'm sure she wants to kind of hold them accountable, as it is a snowball effect of it accumulating to her not being able to work or kind of live comfortably. And also obviously it's a character indictment that she's doing as well, which would be a completely different thing that Nicki will have to deal with separately. So, but I do think that she's definitely extremely brave. I think the cons of this are very, very potentially severe. But I mean, it's been years since she's kind of like known this and probably thought about potentially going public. So, I don't doubt that she's kind of weighed every single aspect of this before doing this.
She did it.
And I know I'm going to play devil's advocate in my last, and I'm going to bring this last point up because I saw this online, and it's like, do we feel like if Kenneth Petty wasn't married to Nicki Minaj, would this be something that she would even want to bring up or talk about anymore? Or is it
not on live television? Not on live television. She probably would talk about it amongst her peers, or not on television, because it's different now. He's married and had a baby with Nicki Minaj.
Right.
I mean, the baby's father, isn't it?
Yeah. The wounds are reopened because of the high profile of the relationship.
Of course.
So if the crime was but also keep in mind, she said that she moved from Queens after this happened. So she was affected so much that she felt like she couldn't stay in the neighborhood when that happened. And she also mentioned in the real interview, like she was just, like she said, just kind of afraid of being found out. So to answer your question, no, she wouldn't have been talking about this because, well, one, obviously she wouldn't have had the platform, but two, the wounds wouldn't have been opened up so publicly, so loud, and her pain wouldn't have been so readily available to so many other people if it wasn't involving someone who is so close to a megastar. So I don't think that she would be, that's not necessarily an indictment of how she's going about it. It's just kind of what comes with the territory of celebrity.
And we don't know like what messages she's getting. We don't know what people are saying to her. There are people who get assaulted every day. There are people who get raped every day, and they're threatened. They're threatened, but they don't get a platform to speak, but this is different. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely agree with you, Alan. My thing is like, we don't know what's going on behind closed doors.
Yeah, we'll definitely keep an eye on this story. I appreciate, Alan, you bringing that to our attention. I did want to bring up and just get y'all take on this because we had another celebrity death. It seems like we're having these more and more frequently. Comedian AJ Johnson. I don't know if y'all remember Friday. He was Ezel. He was the crack. He played the crackhead in Friday. Funny dude. He actually passed away, and so his wife set up a GoFundMe account for his funeral expenses, and with the GoFundMe account, they wasn't really hitting their mark on the GoFundMe account. So his wife kind of called out on social media, was like, "Yo, there's a lot of fake love from celebrities about him." Meaning so much to them and how good of a dude, but she couldn't reach the amount she needed for the GoFundMe. And so one of my questions was, and she classified it as fake love. And so my thing is like, is it people's responsibility to prepare, like there are certain things as adults that we have to prepare for. Like for instance, life insurance. Right? Like, I don't have life insurance. Everybody can afford that, though. Yeah, I need to get life insurance. But I thought life insurance is a lot cheaper. Like, I just don't like how people are classified as, oh, you didn't really give a fuck because now you are not giving up, monetary value to this person.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Like, like they could still care about you and your husband, but it's like y'all are two adults. Y'all should have been able to, as a married couple, be able to prepare. Now, if something like tragic, like unexpected, I'm sure nobody really expects anybody to die. But if it's something like extenuating circumstances, it's a GoFundMe. But I think a lot of times, and I wanted to bring this up, like a lot of times as we're growing up into adulthood, there's a lot of things that we don't necessarily pay attention to. And I wanted to kind of segue to that as like, what are some things that you know now that as a child you wish you did know? As far as things about adulting.
Well, should we I think Jesse, I do want to get your opinion first on this specific situation with AJ. And then I'll go ahead and insert my thoughts.
So the way I see it is, yes, as adults, we should be responsible. We should have life insurance, even though you never know what's going to happen. Like maybe she had plans to get life insurance, but she just didn't, or they didn't expect, like they needed to, and maybe that wasn't in their plans, but maybe they simply couldn't afford it. And I know that some people will be like, it's not that much, but still, like, you don't know what their everyday bills are, and little things do add up. So I'm sure there was a reason, and maybe they were just really comfortable, and maybe this is like an awareness for other people to know, like, have life insurance because you never know what's going to happen. And I kind of, the way I see it, the way she probably took it was like, and I don't really know like who was showing the fake love, but if it was like celebrities that was showing the love and they seen the GoFundMe and they weren't donating, but they saw that she was asking for the money, I wouldn't call it fake love. I don't really know what I would call it, but I could see like where her frustration would stem from, because it's like, you see that I'm asking for the money, you have the money, this is someone that you're saying that you loved or you support, but you don't want to like help fund something like his funeral where you see that I need it. But I do think it is the responsibility of, like your responsibility to have that life insurance. But I do also understand that there are things that happen in your everyday life, and sometimes you simply cannot afford it. Life today is not the same as it was 20 years ago or even 30 years ago. Shit was way cheaper, it was easier to live. Everything is so expensive now. And even something as simple as life insurance can put a burden on a person. You know what I'm saying? Me, I have life insurance because, my job, they offer it. So they take it out my check. So that's like easily accessible to me, but not everybody has that. And we don't know what their situation is. So I wouldn't really call it fake love, I guess. I would just say that, I guess I see what she's saying. I just wouldn't call it fake love.
When you were talking, I was just like, well, is it petty? Because I kind of feel that way when people are like, yo, TJ, I support you. I was just telling Alan about the Instagram stories thing. Like, I posted some like late night post workout like selfies, right, to kind of more capitalize, me in fitness or whatever. And now, like, my Instagram stories in like a week was popping. There was a lot of people looking and messaging me and, oh, man, you look great, blah, 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 all that good stuff, right? I appreciate that. But then I was like, all right, cool. Let me go ahead and capitalize on some of the, the little popularity, I guess. And I was like, yo, if y'all really want to support me, y'all go ahead and support the Soapbox Podcast. Man, I tell you, it's the algorithm or whatnot. Everything went back to normal on my page. I was like, oh, so I gotta hold myself out, and then bring you in, and then bring you out. So I'm learning the different algorithm. I don't know what the hell's going on, right? So, I consider that. I consider that fake love. Like, there's no way anybody can have an audience with me and say that they support me if they don't support this. Like, because they know that this is the main thing I work on. You know what I'm saying? So I would have that attitude too. Like, you support me, but
do you really support me? Yeah, because I feel like a lot of times, like if you use the Soapbox as an example, it's like we're small right now, but if we started getting like mad hype from like bigger celebrities or like bigger people, and we just grew like crazy, then all of a sudden, like people who've been watching you, people who you've been asking to follow you, who didn't follow you, all of a sudden they're gonna start coming around and they're gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna follow you now. Okay, I'm gonna support you now because the hype is there. But before, when we were asking, or when I was asking you to support my little brands, and this is even people with small businesses, like when we were asking you to support my small business, you didn't want to. But now that it's getting major recognition and we're big, now you want to support it and now you want to like it. So I feel like in a sense, like, yes, that is kind of fake love, but at the same time, you know, like people are just like different. Like some people are like, I don't know, I don't want to say the wrong thing, but I can see where that could kind of feel like fake love. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean,
what say you, Alan?
So I mean, I think it's a couple things. Like first and foremost, rest in peace to AJ. I don't know how long was the turnaround between the time that she maybe had posted the link and when she had spoke out about it. But truth be told, I think a lot of it just is because of lack of awareness. Like I'm not sure if his wife had much of a relationship with the public or if the public even knew who she was. And anytime you see a GoFundMe, you don't necessarily know how authentic it is. So, you know, one, I think it was just people didn't know about it mainly. And two, like I said, I'm not sure if her reach was just kind of far enough to get the traction that she wanted. Now, I know Michael Blackson recently, when he stepped in and he said that, listen, you know, we need everybody to donate to the GoFundMe. And he also said that he was matching contributions. And he was like, you know, just put $20 here, put $20 towards the GoFundMe. And just with that, they was able to raise $10,000 within like 48 hours, if I'm not mistaken.
Because people like that goes to Jesse's point. People need a co-signer. Like they need somebody like who's popular to be like to give you the thumbs up. So
and then not even just the cosign, but just the reach. Like I'm sure Michael Jackson has a very big social media presence, and I'm sure it's not only probably what the social media presence of what AJ's was, but also his current spouse. So if you just, it's exposure. A lot of times it's just math. It's just exposure when it comes to things like this. Granted, so I think in this case that's just really what it was. You know, I can't really say about any of that behind the scenes things. Michael Blackson did say that there were some people who said that they were going to donate and they just haven't yet. But I just think that like a lot of times in this case, anytime that someone claims to be a family member of someone who recently passed, everyone is a little bit skeptical. So you know, in that case, a cosign does absolutely help. I will.
We don't talk enough about life insurance when we're younger, and I think not just that, but also like buying a house. Like nobody really teaches you that shit when you're younger, like about like house and rent and financial literacy as much as like we're learning like slope intercept.
Right.
And
so
they don't teach about taxes. Like people don't know how to do tax. Like we waste our time on so much other shit. Like no one teaches you in school really like how you pay your light bills and some of these things. Well, now you got like apps and stuff, so you can just go ahead and put your card information in.
Yeah.
But yeah, for the most part, there's so much about adulting that people are just left to their own devices to kind of figure out. And I think life insurance is just one of those things where it's like you need to turn the tide to be like, you know.
And that's one thing I was going to kind of
education and awareness.
That is one thing I was going to kind of segue to is, and I'm not sure about his personal accolades, but I do know something that is a bit unique with actors as opposed to like musicians is that if you're in the Screen Actors Guild, I do believe that you are kind of rewarded with some sort of like general benefits package. I'm not sure if life insurance is included in that, but generally, you know, like you get a pension and insurance and things of that nature. Because they're kind of unionized. So I'm not sure if life insurance is included in that. That's something that we would have to look up. But I've always like that's kind of stood out to me that actors do kind of have that foundation there.
Yeah, but did he do anything like after Friday? Do you know?
I'm not 100% sure, but
a couple things, but like here and there, like he wasn't like a big time. Like that's where I mostly know him from. Like he was in Players Club. Like he had a part in Players Club. But it wasn't like a big time, a big time actor and those type of things. Now, I will say this. No, I will say this. I do believe that it all comes with your status and your contribution to society. Like for instance, like Colin Kaepernick should never have to work a day in his life. Yes, he's a millionaire, but I don't think he should ever have to work a day in his life or have to have somebody to go for him. Like people who have contributed and served their communities or served their, even on a local level, I don't think they should ever have to worry about who's going to bury them or whatever if you've been out there putting in work for your people, especially in the social justice space. But as an actor who just had sparing movie roles, like I'm not with the whole shaming people, but it's almost like I'm the type of person that's like, I'm not going to shame you, but I'm also going to peep game. So if you don't support the soapbox, then you come hit me up like, yo, man, I really need your help, some advice. Well, I'm like, yeah, you like I'm that petty. I've actually said that to people. And they started, I'm like, I was like, I actually talked about this on my podcast. Did you subscribe if you liked my page? It was like,
no, you don't.
Nah. But what's ironic is that when people see you, it's the first thing. So people are just not supporting, like to what you were saying, that people just don't support things because it's not trendy. You see what I'm saying? Like, but when I see people, the first thing people talk to me about is, yo, man, see what you're doing on the Soapbox podcast. I'm like, what do you mean you see what I'm doing? They're like, help. Right. You know? But that's just human nature. But I definitely want to thank Soapbox Podcast for those who will chime in, or whether it's our streaming services or YouTube if you watch and view it later. Shout out to y'all. Make sure you follow us, Soapbox Podcast, and Soapbox Podcast with 2X. Now, this one is kind of this story was kind of interesting that I wanted to bring up. It's about the X-Men, my shirt. So I am what I consider a blurred, or which is like a term, black nerd, or everything like combined. And so right now, you know how everybody's extra woke, everybody's talking about cancel culture and all these other different things. Right now, they are trying to, and when I say they, you had an executive, believe it was Disney or who worked at one of the higher ups, that says that the name X-Men, right? X-Men comic book, everybody loves them. Storm, Cyclops, Wolverine, that group, Professor Xavier. The term X-Men is a bit outdated. And they said the term should be changed because there's women that are included in X-Men. And they said that it should be, the term X-Men should be more inclusive. So that actually X-Men is a global brand. People know X-Men all over the world. And so it was brought up, and people kind of went crazy on Twitter, like against it. But it was brought up that the terms X-Men should be turned into something else to be more inclusive. Yo, shout out to a live music lover. Yes, Soapbox is fine. I mean, I appreciate that, fam. Thank you. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. Appreciate it. So, what do y'all think about the term X-Men, man? You think the X-Men term should be changed to become more inclusive?
Is it so?
Before I do that, I just want to.
No.
I just want to let everybody know.
Quick question though.
Looking good, TJ.
Is it the men part that is not inclusive?
Yeah. Because it says X-Men. You know how we have different gender roles and different things now. Like,
X-humans.
But they're not humans. Well, they are humans, but they have the gene. So the story.
So you're gonna change Superman, Aquaman, Spider-Man.
That's what's coming. Black Panther.
No.
And I'm a little bit ignorant when it comes to like the like Cole Superverses, but X-Men is a conglomerate of people, right? Or are they all men?
Of men, women, and like creatures.
Which is fair. Okay, understood. Yeah. So if women are included in X-Men, then maybe there should be a better term for X-Men. Like Superman is one person and it's a man, so it's kind of cool.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
But it's like X,
I see what you're saying.
But the X is standing like, okay, so you have man, and then you have woman, and then you have X-Men. So the X is basically standing for like that terminology. Like they're different from just a regular man or a woman. So it's like an inclusive. It's a race of people. Like they're a different, like a race. So even like they talk about the human race. You see what I'm saying? And so the whole
it's the men part that's triggering.
Huh?
It's the men part that's triggering.
That's my thing. Is like just say you just don't want men to have, because there's women, and women are the best superheroes in X-Men, so they just don't change.
But if you're saying, but is it true what you're saying in regards to the X is supposed to be some sort of the X and X-Men is supposed to be replacing?
Because you have the gene, you have the mutant gene. I think that's what it more so represents, the mutant gene of X-Men, right? So
is there like
group. we're X-Men like together. Like for instance, it's like us, like we are the Soapbox.
Like right? Gladys Knights and the Pips?
Correct. Yes, exactly. Like Destiny's Child.
So is there like an official launch date for this change?
I know they're not saying it, but it was just brought up that people were like, hey, it should change because everybody right now is about pronouns and
so this isn't like something that Marvel's doing.
No, this is but an executive who has some authority said that hey, we should get into changing. And people on Twitter was like, nah, fam, leave X-Men alone, type of joint. So I think the name should actually stay. I don't think that it's not offensive. Like nobody woke up and was like, damn, I'm oppressed. I don't think like that's on the list of the chopping block for things that people should be oppressed about. It's like, yo, when I watch X-Men, I don't feel seen. Like, I'm like, man, there's somebody called Nightcrawler. Like, he's like an alien. Like, it's like I think it's just thinking that we have other things to worry about than whether or not, like, this is not the part of diversity and inclusion. Like, having Black leads in movies or having Black executives and having Black telling Black stories of their experience, that is a fight worth talking about. But talking about some fictitious, that's like the Pepe Le Pew thing. Like they were like, oh my God, they wanted this cartoon skunk to be the most upstanding citizen. And they were like, oh, I can't believe Pepe Le Pew is not a gentleman. He's a skunk.
That's what everything though. It's not even just that. It's even like Disney, like everything is changing. Like every storyline is changing. Didn't they just do a new Cinderella and like the fairy godmother is
Billy Porter is in a dress?
It's just like everything is different now. And like I wish I would have came here with some more examples. And I know that there was recently like a comic book that they were doing something different, and I can't think about what it was. And I think we talked about it.
They got gay superheroes, and I think Marvel's now integrating more gay characters. Star Wars had a girl-on-girl kiss scene in the Star Wars movie at the last one. It wasn't sexy. But I mean, they had it, and like you can't find out, you can't go into a movie these days without having LGBTQ character.
That's what I'm saying. Everything is different. That's what I'm saying. Everything is different. So it's kind of like whether you want it or not. I just feel like this is gonna be the new norm now, and it's just gonna be happening with like everything now.
So what should they change it to? What names would y'all change it to if it's not X-Men?
Something all-inclusive that sounds cool. I got to think about it.
Because you can't change it. I was just saying, like, shout out to Soapbox names. You can't change it to X people because some of them are not actually people. They're creatures. So you can't.
X all.
So now we got to represent the aliens that don't really exist.
I
don't think that
X all.
The X's.
The X all, like everybody.
X all. Yeah, I don't think this is gonna have any wings because there's way too much money in merchandise.
Yeah.
to kind of like do anything about it.
Those are gonna end up being exclusive. If they end up changing it, those are gonna be exclusive. Those are gonna be the vintage items. Those are gonna be the ones that like years from now they're gonna cost so much money because it's like the original. Yes.
You know what
thing, TJ, because I'm
what this reminds me? You know what this reminds me of? Even though the other one was a little bit just more legal and less political. Like I remember when the WWF turned into the WWE, and I just thought life as we knew it was just over. I'm like, how dare they? And then I was like, then I realized that they were just getting sued. So they kind of
what's the WWF stand for?
So the WWF used to be the World Wrestling Federation. Mm-hmm. They had to change their acronyms because of, I believe it's World Wildlife something. something about nature, that they already had that acronym. And so after a long legal battle, the WWF had to no longer be the WWF and had to change over to the WWE. But it was like the WWF was like the staple. Like it was the marketing thing, the logo, everything was WWF. And then they kind of got the rug pulled out of them. And, you know, they bounced back pretty well, I'd say, marketing wise anyway.
You learn something new every day because I did not know that.
I'm like a proud father. We are talking wrestling on the Soapbox Podcast. It has happened. We are now venturing into the world. We have talked about X-Men, which is comic books, and now we're talking wrestling. Man, we better just land the plane because this shit is yes. So yes.
I'm sorry. Worldwide Fund, Worldwide Life Fund. So they have worldwide. Blah. Anyways, that's what happened, and it was like a very big. It was like a very big turning point in my youth. I really felt like. But anyways,
yes.
Sorry.
That. So I don't know if I don't think they should change it. I think the more things change, the more things stay the same. However, I do believe that you can have inclusion, but some of these old cartoons, like Disney has racist cartoons that are still, that they have to leave disclaimers for. So, I just don't think that anybody should be offended by the X-Men. But we are going to hit the moral of the story. I'm going to start with you, my man, Alan. Go ahead. What's your moral of the story, my brother?
Oh, snap. It's me with the moral of the story. Wow. So the moral of the story today is, continue to be safe, continue to wash your hands, continue to wear your mask, and make sure you find something that makes you happy this week. I think everybody should have a default setting of happiness or a default activity of happiness. And whenever you're down, whenever you feel like life is getting a little bit overwhelming, whenever you feel like you're losing your purpose, you should have a reset button and something to go to that makes you happy no matter what. Like the same way people have comfort food, I think we should have comfort activities, but hopefully something that'll kind of like, feed your spiritual and feed your soul and feed your mind. So make sure y'all doing that. That's my moral of the story.
Word. Miss Jessie, lady from the north, looking amazing as always. What is your moral of the story?
My moral of the story is basically to live your truth, no matter what it is. Just always be true to yourself, despite what people are going to think about you, despite how anybody is going to see you. Just be who you are and just be authentic. That's my moral of the story. Just be you.
Word. Love it. Listen, it's simple. My moral of the story is, I kind of touched on it earlier. Like everybody is somebody else's villain. I'm letting y'all know right now, I hate my chair. It sinks every time I get ready to talk. I got to get a new chair. I do not like it. It's something that I don't have a lot of stress in my life right now, but it's causing me stress and I don't like it. So I'm going to have to get a new chair. Every time I sit here, I think about that. But my moral of the story is this: just because you don't have to be the villain, and you also don't have to be the victim in somebody else's story. You have the power of choice. You have the power of free will, right? And so you can choose to use your voice and be heroic and tell your truth and speak your truth, but your truth doesn't necessarily have to be somebody else's truth. But as long as you stand on your square and you speak to what you believe in and speak to your experiences, then that's fine. And people are going to vilify you for your truth or the truth, because there's three sides to the truth: your side, that other person's, your story, someone else's story, and then God and the God above. But even in situations where you've made past mistakes or you've been a different person, right? Like I haven't been always the nicest person in my life, and I'm definitely somebody's villain in people's story, probably multiple people's stories. But that doesn't make me that doesn't mean I got to be victimized or be a villain in someone's story for the rest of my life, right? And especially that's why this story was a little touching to me, especially if you paid your debt to society, right? Now you don't, now you shouldn't continue to victimize people and harass them. But everybody has the ability to grow from their mistakes, grow from their experiences, and to move forward. So I'm hoping and sending healing energy to anybody that needs to hear that or is trying to get to the next chapter of their life. That I hope and I wish that and I pray that you heal from your past trauma and create a new one, because you have the power to do so. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you, Soapbox Nation. Our algorithm is kind of fucked up this week, but it's okay. We were off last week. We're going to get it back with it. Expect us to be doing some more interviews. Like, we haven't had guests where we're actually interviewing some people. So let me know when the inbox or whatever, who you want us to be come on as guests for us to interview, chop it up, and let's hear some stories as we're heading into the holiday season, Halloween, all that other good stuff. So for Alan York, for Jesse, this is TJ Legacy. We are the Soapbox Podcast with 2X, because we are the X factor in this podcast, in this podcast game. And we're keeping going. Let's go. Let's get it.
Anything. Tell them what we talking about. Anything. Tell them what we talking about. Anything. 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 Welcome to the Soapbox.